Good morning. I want to talk to somebody today who's been asking, God, is this the one? Is this person really meant for me? Let me tell you something, friend. You're not crazy for wondering. When something is divine, your heart knows. You just need to pay attention to the signs, because when your soulmate is near, heaven starts to whisper. And if you've been feeling certain things in your heart, you better not ignore it, because God is giving you too many signs. You know, when you're with the right person, the one truly meant for you, you won't feel pressure. You won't feel like you have to perform, prove, or pretend. You feel something different. You feel peace. Not the kind of peace that's temporary, like when you finally check off all your to-dos. No. I'm talking about that deep, still peace that settles in your soul, that wraps around you like a warm blanket, even in the middle of uncertainty. When God is orchestrating a connection, the number one sign you'll feel is peace. That inner calm, even when life is chaotic. That gentle assurance that says, you're right where you need to be. Let me tell you about a woman named Ava. She had been in relationships before, on and off, here and there, always feeling like she had to be more to be loved, more beautiful, more exciting, more successful. She would stay up at night wondering, what do I need to change about myself so they'll stay? And every time it didn't work out, she would blame herself, thinking she just wasn't enough. Then one day she met someone who didn't ask her to be more. In fact, he appreciated her as she was. They didn't have fireworks from the start, but there was a calm, a quiet joy in being around him. She found herself laughing more, breathing easier, and not feeling the need to analyze every text or wonder if she was being too much. One night she told me, Joel, I never knew love could feel like this. It's not loud, but it's peaceful, and I don't feel afraid. That's it right there. See, when God is in the mix, you don't feel pressure to rush. You don't feel the anxiety of trying to make something happen that's not meant to. When it's right, you can exhale. You're not walking on eggshells, hoping not to say the wrong thing. You're walking in peace, knowing the right person sees your heart, not just your highlight reel. This kind of peace is the opposite of striving. So many people are out here trying to force relationships, slamming on doors that were never theirs to open, trying to manufacture chemistry, ignoring the red flags because they're addicted to the thrill. But peace doesn't live in the chase. Peace shows up in presence, in comfort, in that feeling of I can be fully me and I am still chosen. Think about how you feel when you come home after a long, exhausting day. You kick off your shoes, sit on your couch, and just breathe. That's the feeling the right person brings into your life. They feel like home. Not because they're perfect, but because your soul isn't on guard around them. And here's a beautiful thing about peace. It's not just a feeling, it's a confirmation. God speaks through peace. When He's aligning you with your soulmate, He'll let peace be your guide. That's why no matter how attractive, successful, or charismatic someone might be, if you're constantly anxious around them, that's not your person. Peace doesn't need you to second guess. Peace doesn't demand you to keep proving yourself. Peace just is. I once met a man who told me he broke off a 2-year engagement. From the outside, everything looked perfect. They had the house, the wedding plan, the social media photos, the whole story. But he said, Joel, every night before I went to sleep, I felt this unrest, like something wasn't right. It wasn't fear, it was the absence of peace. That takes courage to walk away from something that looks good but doesn't feel right. But he trusted that voice, and a year later, he met a woman in the most unexpected place, no sparks flying, no dramatic rom-com moment, but slowly, gently, a peace settled in his heart. Today, they've been married for 5 years, and he said, every morning I wake up and feel calm. I feel chosen, and most of all, I feel at peace. That's what happens when it's divine. You see, the world tells us to look for butterflies, for excitement, for drama, but heaven whispers, look for peace. That doesn't mean the relationship will be easy every single day, but even in the storms, there's an anchor in your spirit. You don't run from each other, you run to each other. So if you're in a season where you're questioning, is this the one? I want to encourage you, don't just ask if you're happy. Don't just ask if you're attracted. Ask yourself this, do I feel peace? Because real love doesn't raise your blood pressure, it raises your spirit. And when you find that peace, don't doubt it. Don't talk yourself out of it. Don't let fear make you overthink it. Instead, lean into it, protect it, water it, because peace isn't passive. It's powerful. And when God gives you peace about someone, that's Him saying, I'm in this. Don't chase the loud. Follow the calm. Because the greatest sign of a soulmate, it isn't passion. It's peace. ChatGPT said, you ever notice how sometimes life seems to bring someone into your path over and over again? At first you brush it off. Oh, that's just random. But then it happens again and again. You're not even trying, but somehow there they are. A familiar smile in an unfamiliar place. A name that keeps popping up. A friend of a friend that keeps showing up in your story. Let me tell you, when your paths cross repeatedly without effort, that's not luck. That's not coincidence. That's alignment. That's divine choreography. God is working behind the scenes, bringing you closer to someone who's already meant for your heart. See, we often look for big, loud signs. We want the clouds to part and a voice from the sky to declare, this is your person. But God works in subtler, sweeter ways. He sets things up with gentle patterns. And one of the clearest signs that you're being led toward your soulmate is that you keep meeting in ways you never planned. It's the accidents that aren't accidental at all. Let me tell you about a guy named Marcus. He wasn't even looking for a relationship. He was focused on his business, building his dreams, staying in his lane. One day he went to a coffee shop he didn't usually go to, sat down with his laptop, ordered as usual. A woman next to him accidentally took his coffee. They laughed about it, joked, made small talk. Then she left. He didn't even get her name. 2 weeks later, he's at a bookstore across town, different neighborhood. Guess who's in the same aisle, reaching for the same book? Her. They both just stared and laughed. Because what are the odds? Still, they didn't exchange numbers. They went their separate ways again. A month later, at a friend's birthday dinner, guess who walks in late and sits across the table from him? Same woman. Third time, he told me, Joel, I couldn't ignore it anymore. It wasn't just chance, it was confirmation. And you know what? That woman is now his wife. And he said something that stuck with me. God had to let it happen 3 times because I was too stubborn to see it the first 2. Friend, don't ignore divine patterns. God doesn't make mistakes. When someone keeps showing up in your life, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, spiritually, that's heaven gently nudging you. Pay attention. Think about your own life. Have you ever met someone and thought it was just in passing, only to realize they were being woven into your life thread by thread? Maybe it's a coworker you never noticed before, but suddenly you start having deeper conversations. Maybe it's a friend of a friend who starts showing up at the same events, the same places, with the same energy. Or maybe it's someone from your past you keep bumping into in your present, and every time you do, something in you softens. That's not randomness. That's divine rhythm. When God wants to connect to people, He doesn't force it. He flows it. He aligns their footsteps so they meet naturally. And here's the beautiful part. It doesn't feel like a chase. It doesn't feel like you're searching in the dark. It feels like the light is guiding you toward them, even when you're not looking. You don't have to manipulate it. You don't have to make it happen. The right person, the right timing, the right encounter, it all unfolds organically when it's written in the stars. Some of the best love stories don't start with fireworks. They start with quiet reruns, familiar faces. Casual meetings that turn into consistent patterns. A person who keeps returning, not just physically, but energetically. You think about them even when they're not around. You pray, and somehow their name floats up. You try to move on, but life keeps circling you back to them. That's not just a memory. That's a message. And don't get discouraged if things don't move quickly. Repetition is often God's way of giving you another chance to notice what you missed the first time. Each meeting is like another brushstroke on a bigger painting. You may not see the full picture yet, but trust He's working on a masterpiece. Sometimes God is testing your awareness. Will you be present enough to recognize what He's placing in front of you? Will you see the divine connection hiding in ordinary moments? Don't let your mind talk you out of what your spirit already knows. If someone keeps crossing your path effortlessly, don't dismiss it. Don't overthink it. Don't drown it in fear or logic. Sit with it, pray on it. Ask yourself, why does this connection feel like a gentle echo? Because when it's divine, It doesn't shout, it whispers. And if the universe keeps bringing someone back to you, maybe it's time you stop calling it coincidence and start calling it confirmation, ChatGPT said. When you're with the right person, the one who's aligned with your destiny, you'll start to notice something powerful. You don't lose yourself in the relationship. You find more of yourself. You're not pulled away from your purpose. You're pulled deeper into it. That's one of the clearest, most beautiful signs that someone might be your soulmate. They don't distract you from your path. They amplify it. They awaken something in you that you maybe forgot was even there. Real love doesn't make you shrink to fit someone else's idea of a life. It expands your capacity to live the life you were born for. The right person won't just fall in love with you. They'll fall in love with your vision, your purpose, your passion. They'll see not only who you are, but who you're becoming. And they'll want to be part of that journey, not steer you away from it. Let me tell you about a woman named Tasha. She always had a dream of starting her own nonprofit for at-risk youth. She had the heart, the talent, the calling, but every time she got into a relationship, somehow her dream started to fade into the background. It wasn't that the men she dated were bad people, but they didn't see her dream. They didn't ask about it. They didn't fuel it. Slowly, she began to doubt if it was even worth pursuing. Then, one day, she met someone new. They were just friends at first. He asked her what she was passionate about, and she told him about her dream. Unlike anyone else, he leaned in. He listened. He asked questions. He offered ideas. He even sent her articles and resources that could help her. He didn't try to take over. He just supported, encouraged, and believed in her. She said to me, Joel, for the first time in my life, I felt like I didn't have to choose between love and purpose. I could have both. That's what divine connection feels like. That's what your soulmate does. They don't dim your light, they add fuel to your fire. They want to see you rise, not just because they love you, but because they love what you're called to do. They become your safe space and your launch pad at the same time. Sometimes we mistake passion for purpose. We think that as long as there's attraction, chemistry, butterflies, it must be real. But let me tell you something. Chemistry fades, purpose lasts. And when someone is really meant for you, they're not just a romantic partner. They're a purpose partner. They're not intimidated by your vision. They're inspired by it. They don't compete with your calling. They complement it. Think about it. Why would the universe send you someone who takes you away from what you were born to do? Why would love cost you your identity? No, real love, divine love, is always tied to your mission. It brings clarity, not confusion. Motivation, not distraction. If you find yourself drifting away from your dreams just to keep someone around, that's not alignment, that's sacrifice. And love that costs you your purpose is far too expensive. I once talked with a man who was a musician. He had spent years trying to make a name for himself, grinding late nights, writing songs, chasing the dream. Then he met someone. At first, it was great, but slowly he started missing rehearsals, canceling gigs. She didn't say it outright, but he felt the pressure to choose her over everything else. He told me, I thought I was in love, but I was losing myself. And when he finally had the courage to walk away, it hurt, but something inside him came back to life. Just months later, he met someone new. And this time, instead of pulling him away from music, she would sit in the studio with him. She'd listen to his rough drafts, encourage him, even remind him why he started in the first place. He said it wasn't just that she loved me. Friend, that's how you know. The right one will not only respect your calling, they will protect it. They'll speak life over it when you're tired. They'll remind you of who you are when you forget. They'll celebrate your wins and stand by you in the losses. They'll walk beside you, not ahead of you, not behind you, but with you. So ask yourself, does this person inspire me to grow? Do I feel more focused, more energized, more me when I'm with them? Or do I feel like I have to choose between who I love and what I love? Because the one that's truly meant for you, your soulmate, will never make you choose. They'll remind you that you can have both. They'll be your partner in love and in destiny. And when you find that kind of person, don't let go. That's not just love, that's purpose on fire. Sometimes love shows up not to flatter you, but to grow you. And one of the most powerful signs that someone might be your soulmate is this: they challenge you, not just charm you. You're not just swept up in how they make you feel. You're elevated by how they push you to become the best version of yourself. They love you deeply, but they don't leave you stuck. They call you higher. Let's be honest. It's easy to fall for someone who says all the right things, who flatters you, who tells you what you want to hear. That's nice. It feels good for a while. But here's the truth. Charm wears off and flattery fades. The person who's truly aligned with your soul won't just tell you how amazing you are. They'll remind you when you're playing small. They'll challenge you to confront your fears, your habits, your growth. And they'll do it not to control you, but because they believe in who you're becoming. There's a man I know named Elijah. For years, he'd been coasting. He had talent, but he wasn't using it. He'd talk big dreams, but never take action. He was stuck in patterns, safe patterns. Then one day, he met someone. Her name was Amira. She wasn't loud, but she was clear. On their third date, she looked him in the eye and said, "You're too gifted to live this quiet. You keep talking about what you're going to do, but when are you actually going to do it?" He told me that hit him like a lightning bolt, not because she criticized him, but because she saw him. She saw the version of him he'd been avoiding. She wasn't there to comfort his excuses. She came to confront his potential. That's what real love looks like. When someone is for your soul, they won't let you settle. They won't applaud your mediocrity just to keep the peace. They'll push you gently but truthfully toward the greatness they see in you. They're not impressed by the mask you wear. They're in love with the raw, real, unfinished version of you, and they want to walk with you through the refining process. Some people say love should be easy, and yes, it should feel safe, but growth is never easy, and real love is always tied to growth. It's not just emotional, it's transformational. The right person will speak to your potential, not just your present. They'll look at you and say, "You're great, but there's more in you. And I'm not going to stand by and watch you bury it." And here's what's amazing. When that challenge comes from a place of love, not criticism, it doesn't tear you down, it lifts you up. You don't feel judged, you feel seen. You don't feel small, you feel stretched. I remember a woman named Kiera who told me her story. She was successful on paper, but deep down, she was tired, burnt out. She was used to being in control. In past relationships, she had always been the strong one, the fixer, the leader. But then she met someone who didn't just admire her strength. He asked her, "When's the last time you let someone take care of you?" She didn't know how to respond. No one had ever asked her that. He challenged her to rest, to be vulnerable, to trust. At first, it scared her. She thought, "He's trying to make me weak." But then she realized he wasn't trying to break her down. He was trying to help her breathe. He saw that she was carrying too much, and he wanted to be the kind of partner who could lift some of the weight. Challenge doesn't always come in the form of correction. Sometimes it comes in the form of permission to slow down, to dream bigger, to feel deeper, to take up. If someone only tells you how beautiful you are, but never asks about your vision, your discipline, your wounds, they might like you, but they don't love the whole of you. The one who's meant for you will care about your soul. And to care about someone's soul is to invite them into transformation. That kind of love requires courage. It's not passive. It doesn't just go along to get along. It says, "I love you too much to watch you sabotage your potential." It means they'll sit with you in your mess, but won't let you stay there. They'll support your dreams, yes, but they'll also hold you accountable when your actions don't align with your purpose. And you know what? That kind of challenge is rare, but it's holy. Because when someone challenges you with love, they're loving the deepest parts of you, the parts that are still in process. So don't be afraid of the one who challenges you. Don't push them away because they make you uncomfortable. Sometimes discomfort is the very thing that wakes you up. Sometimes the challenge is the gift. Because charm may make your heart flutter, but challenge will make your soul grow. And the one who's truly meant for you will do both. Love you for who you are and push you toward who you're meant to become. There's something truly sacred about peace. Not the kind of peace where everything is perfect on the outside, but the kind that settles deep in your chest, where the noise quiets and your spirit just knows this feels right. When someone is truly meant for you, one of the loudest signs is actually the quietest feeling, peace. A deep, unshakable calm that rises above doubt, fear, or confusion. That's not something you can fake. That's not something you can force. That kind of peace is divine. And it's the language your soul speaks when your heart has found its home. You probably heard it said, if you have to force it, it's probably not meant to be. And there's truth in that. Real connection doesn't come with constant anxiety. It doesn't keep you second guessing or questioning your worth. The right person will bring clarity, not chaos. You won't have to chase them, beg them, convince them. You won't lose sleep wondering if you're enough. Instead, there's a quiet knowing, a calm in your spirit, a steady rhythm that says, I can breathe here. Let me tell you about Ava. She had been in relationships before where everything looked good on paper. The photos looked perfect, the smiles were big, the conversations were full of sparks. But underneath it all, she was always on edge. She didn't feel safe to be vulnerable. She didn't feel free to be herself. Every day was a guessing game. Should she call? Should she wait? Was she too much? Was she not enough? She described it as beautiful chaos. But over time, the chaos drained her spirit. Then she met someone new. He wasn't flashy. He didn't sweep her off her feet with grand gestures, but there was something different. She said, for the first time, I didn't feel like I had to perform. I didn't feel like I had to prove anything. I could just be, and it was like my soul exhaled. That's peace. That's alignment. We're taught to look for fireworks, to chase excitement, to believe that love has to be dramatic or complicated to be real. But what if the most powerful love doesn't come with noise, but with stillness? What if the sign that someone is meant for you is that when you're with them, your nervous system calms down? You're not anxious. You're not in fight or flight. You're just present, at ease, safe. That kind of peace is rare. But when you feel it, you'll know. It won't always be logical. It won't always make sense to the people around you. But your heart will recognize it like a melody it's always known. And listen, peace doesn't mean perfection. You'll still have disagreements. You'll still face challenges. But even in the midst of the storm, there's a confidence, a groundedness that says, we're solid. We're not falling apart. The right relationship isn't the absence of problems. It's the presence of safety in the middle of them. You won't be walking on eggshells, afraid to say the wrong thing. You won't feel like you're auditioning for love. Instead, you'll feel seen, heard, and held. And that creates the foundation where everything else can grow. I remember a man named Jaden who told me every time I was around her, I didn't feel nervous, I felt calm. I used to think love was supposed to feel like a roller coaster, but this felt like standing on solid ground. I didn't have butterflies, I had roots. That right there, that's the gold. When you stop craving the highs and lows and you start appreciating the steadiness, the comfort, the peace. When you finally realize that love isn't supposed to hurt, that you don't have to earn it, it's supposed to hold you. It's supposed to heal you. Think about your own life. Have you ever met someone and almost instantly your heart relaxed? You didn't have to overthink your words, and you didn't feel the pressure to impress. Something just clicked. You weren't comparing yourself to anyone else. You weren't trying to figure out if they were into you. You just felt home. That's not ordinary. That's not random. That's a divine sign. That's your spirit recognizing something real. So many people miss out on this kind of peace because they're addicted to drama. They confuse chaos with passion. But let me tell you, peace is passionate. Peace is powerful. It doesn't shout, but it holds you firm. It doesn't chase attention, but it commands respect. Peace is the fruit of alignment. It shows up when your soul has finally come into contact with what it's been searching for. And when you find that, you'll wonder why you ever settled for anything else. So if you're with someone and all you feel is anxiety, confusion, or emotional whiplash, Paul, that's not how love is supposed to feel. That's not what destiny looks like. But if you meet someone and everything in you says, this is calm, this is safe, this is solid, pay attention. That peace isn't ordinary. That peace is proof. Proof that you're not just with someone good for your heart, but someone's been assigned to your soul, because when it's right, you won't feel like you're losing yourself to love. You'll feel like you've finally come home to yourself. Sometimes the most powerful confirmation that someone is meant for you doesn't come through what they say. It comes through what they do. Real love, real connection reveals itself in consistency, in showing up again and again, not just when it's convenient or exciting, but even in the quiet, mundane, or difficult moments. The person who is truly aligned with your soul won't just talk about love. They'll demonstrate it with action, with patience, with steady presence. In a world full of ghosting, mixed signals, and half-hearted effort, consistency becomes a rare form of intimacy. It says, I'm not here to play games with your heart. I'm here to build something real. That kind of devotion, that quiet faithfulness, it's not flashy, but it's profound. And when you find it, it's like your whole spirit exhales, because you finally feel safe to trust. Let me tell you about Marcus. For years, he dated people who started strong, lavish dates, deep conversations, daily texts. But then, after a few weeks, things would fade, the energy would drop, the excitement would wane. He always found himself wondering, was it something I did? Did I say too much? Was I too much? Then one day, someone came into his life who was different. She didn't come on strong with promises of forever. She didn't sweep him off his feet with drama or mystery. She just showed up every day. She called when she said she would. She followed through on the little things. She listened. She remembered the details. She asked how his day was, not out of obligation, but because she really wanted to know. And Marcus said, at first, I didn't know what to do with that kind of consistency. I was so used to being anxious, waiting for the other shoe to drop, but eventually I realized this is what love is supposed to feel like: safe, steady, sure. You see, consistency doesn't mean perfection. It means intention. It means effort that doesn't disappear when the spark fades or life gets busy. It's in the way they make you a priority, not just when it's easy, but when it costs them something. The right person will make space for you. They'll make time for you, and they won't make you feel like you're chasing their affection or begging for their attention. We live in a culture that glorifies the honeymoon phase, but let me tell you something. Lasting love is not built in the spark. It's built in the sustained fire. It's built in the small, everyday acts of devotion. It's in how they hold your hand in the silence, how they remember your coffee order, how they check in when you've had a hard day, how they show up when life gets messy, not just when it's magical. Because talk is easy. Anyone can say they love you. Anyone can make promises when emotions are high. But real love is proven in the follow-through, in the showing up, in the way someone makes your heart feel safe over time. I once spoke to a woman named Elaine who told me about her husband. They had been together for 10 years. She said, it wasn't some grand moment that made me know he was the one. It was all the little things, over and over. How he kissed my forehead when I was tired. How he waited patiently when I shut down emotionally. How he never made me feel like loving me was a burden, even on my hardest days. She paused and smiled. He showed me I was safe. Not because he said it. That's the kind of love we should be looking for. Not just butterflies, but builders. People who build trust brick by brick with their consistency. People whose actions match their words. People who don't disappear when things get hard. People who aren't addicted to the highs, but are committed to holding you through the lows. And here's the truth. Consistency is how your soul learns to open up. Because when someone keeps showing up over and over, your walls start to lower. Your heart starts to believe that maybe this time it's real. Maybe this time you don't have to protect yourself so fiercely. Maybe this time you can rest in the presence of love. So if you're with someone who doesn't flinch when things get hard, who doesn't make you question your worth, who doesn't retreat when things aren't picture perfect, that's not just luck, that's alignment. That's what it feels like to be loved with intention, with integrity, with truth. Don't let flashy beginnings blind you to hollow middles. Don't let empty words deceive you. Look for the one who moves with consistency, who loves you not just when you're easy to love, but especially when you're not, who stays when they could leave, who listens when they could tune out, who chooses you not once, not occasionally, but daily. Because that's where real love lives, in the rhythm of commitment, in the heartbeat of presence, in the quiet, faithful echo of someone who's not just here to start something, but here to stay. Sometimes the clearest sign that someone is meant for you is when they see the broken parts of you and stay. Not only stay, but love you right there in the middle of the mess. They don't flinch at your flaws. They don't run from your insecurities. They don't shame your past. Instead, they lean in, they listen deeper, they love harder, and in their presence, something begins to heal. Not because they fixed you, but because they made you feel safe enough to start fixing yourself. We all have wounds. Maybe yours came from a past relationship, a broken home, rejection, abandonment, betrayal. Maybe you've spent years hiding those scars, pretending you're okay when you're really not. You've learned how to smile while bleeding, how to laugh while carrying pain. But deep down you've wondered, what if someone sees this part of me and decides I'm too much? And then one day you meet someone who doesn't look away when you open up. They don't judge your vulnerability. They don't minimize your story. Instead, they gently say, I'm not afraid of your depth. I want to know you there. That's not ordinary love. That's sacred connection. There was a man named Isaiah who once told me about a moment that changed everything for him. He had battled depression and silence for years. He had learned how to be the strong one, the one who always had it together. He never talked about the dark days. Then he met a woman named Celeste. Early in their relationship, he confessed one night, some days I don't feel like I'm enough. Some days I feel invisible. He expected her to pull away. He braced for discomfort. But she didn't hesitate. She looked him in the eyes and said, thank you for trusting me with that part of you. That doesn't make me love you less. It makes me love you more. He told me in that moment I felt seen fully. And for the first time in years, I felt like maybe I didn't have to hide anymore. That's what the right person will do. They won't need you to be perfect. They'll honor your realness. They'll understand that love isn't about being flawless. It's about being faithful to each other, even when things get messy. Because the truth is, no one gets through life without pain. But the right person will treat your pain like it matters. They won't use it against you. They'll hold it with care. We all want to be loved at our best. But the deepest healing happens when we're loved at our worst. When someone looks at your anxious thoughts, your childhood traumas, your bad habits, your fears, and instead of walking away, they sit beside you not to fix you, not to change you, but to be with you. To let you know you don't have to carry this alone anymore. And here's the beautiful part. When you're loved like that, you begin to grow. Not because they demand it, but because you feel safe enough to bloom. Healing doesn't happen in pressure. It happens in presence. And when someone stays with you through the hard parts, they create an environment where your soul can finally breathe, finally rest, finally recover. I once spoke to a woman named Ruby. She had survived an abusive relationship. She spent years believing she wasn't worthy of real love. When she finally opened her heart again, she was scared. Every time her new partner got close, she'd pull back. She expected to be abandoned. But he never gave up on her. He stayed patient. He reminded her day after day, you are not too broken to be loved. You are safe with me. Eventually, she stopped waiting for the worst. She started believing she deserved the best because someone saw her, not just the version she tried to be, but the full picture, and still chose her. Especially chose her. That's what love is. It's not always romantic dinners and sweet words. Sometimes it's sitting quietly with someone who's fallen apart. Sometimes it's holding space for someone who's grieving or triggered or scared. Sometimes it's wiping away tears and saying, I'm not going anywhere. The person who's meant for you will see the places where you're still healing and offer their heart, not their judgment. They'll create a safe harbor for your storms. They'll treat your healing like a shared journey, not a burden to bear. And in that kind of love, you'll start to understand something life-changing. Your wounds don't make you unworthy. They make you human. And the one who's truly aligned with your soul won't ask you to hide that humanity. They'll cherish it. So if you've met someone who makes you feel less alone in your darkness, someone who brings light without demanding perfection, hold on to that because that's rare, that's holy, that's a sign that love is not just finding someone to laugh with, but someone who will weep with you. Not just someone who enjoys your strength, but someone who can sit with your weakness and still see your value. The kind of person who helps you heal is the kind of person who was sent with purpose. Because healing isn't something we do alone. It's something we do in the presence of safe love. And if someone offers you that, don't run. Don't sabotage it. Don't push it away because it feels unfamiliar. Lean into it. Trust it. And let it rewrite the story you once believed about your own worth. There's something deeply powerful about timing. You can meet the right person at the wrong time, and it can feel like everything's slipping through your fingers. But when someone is truly aligned with your soul, they won't just show up randomly. They'll arrive at the exact moment your heart is ready to receive them. Not when you're perfect, not when everything in your life is in order, but when you're finally open to healing, open to giving, open to loving again, even with a little fear still in your bones. We often think love is about being ready, that we have to become our best selves before we'll attract the right one. But what if I told you that sometimes the one who is meant for you won't come after you've healed, but will arrive as part of your healing? What if the timing isn't about perfection, but about purpose? Let me tell you about Ryan. He was fresh out of a toxic relationship, the kind that drained his energy and made him question his worth. He wasn't looking for love. In fact, he had made a promise to himself. No more dating for a while. He wanted time to regroup, to rediscover himself. And that was a beautiful thing because it was in that stillness, in that intentional season of personal growth that she walked into his life. She wasn't loud or flashy. She didn't barge in with declarations or drama, but from the moment they spoke, something shifted. It wasn't fireworks. It was alignment. Their conversations were effortless. Their values synced. Their souls seemed to recognize each other. And as much as Ryan resisted it, saying, "This is too soon. I'm not ready," the connection didn't fade. It deepened. Because the truth is, sometimes love doesn't wait for convenience. It shows up when your heart finally creates space. And the person who's meant for you will step into that space, not to complete you, but to grow with you. Timing matters, but not in the way we always think. It's not about everything being lined up on paper. It's about your spirit being in the right posture. It's about your heart being cracked open just enough for light to enter. And often we only reach that space after life has humbled us, after we've experienced heartbreak, after we've let go of old patterns and finally said, "I want something real." You see, divine timing is not accidental. It's strategic. It's meaningful. Sometimes you'll meet someone and feel like, "Where have you been all my life?" But maybe they were always out there just walking their own journey, waiting for the right moment when both of your lives would align, not just emotionally, but spiritually, mentally, energetically. That's what happened to Leanna. She had been married before, and when her marriage ended, she thought love was done for her. She buried herself in her work, her kids, her routines. Years passed. She stopped looking. But during a trip, she almost canceled. Out of exhaustion, out of hesitation, she bumped into someone at a coffee shop, a stranger with a gentle smile and warm energy. They started talking, nothing forced, nothing fancy, just two people being human together. What she didn't know was that he had also been through his own journey. Divorce, depression, recovery. He wasn't looking either. But something in their timing was undeniable. They were both available, not just in their calendars, but in their hearts. They took things slow. But the timing was perfect, not because they were flawless, but because they were ready for something honest, something rooted in truth. So many people ask, "Why haven't I met the right one yet?" And the answer isn't always that they're not out there. Sometimes the answer is that your heart is still healing, still guarded, still tangled in fear or past pain, and that's okay. But when you start doing the inner work, when you start choosing peace, self-worth, and intentionality, you create space. And the universe responds to that space. The person meant for you won't have to be chased. They won't confuse you. They won't make you feel like you're constantly off balance. When it's the right time, their presence will flow into your life like water finding the cracks. And you'll know, because it won't feel forced. It won't feel rushed. It will feel like this is exactly when and how it was supposed to happen. So don't panic if love hasn't come yet. Don't assume something is wrong with you or that you've missed your chance. Sometimes the wait is not a punishment. It's a preparation. Maybe you're becoming the person your soulmate has been praying for. Maybe they're healing too. Maybe the timing is still aligning behind the scenes. But when the moment comes, when your spirit says yes, it will all make sense. The waiting, the tears, the doubts. Because real love doesn't always rush in with drama. Sometimes it arrives quietly, gently, but right on time. And when it does, you'll look back at every delay and realize none of it was wasted. It was all leading here, to this connection, to this season, to this soul you were always meant to find. Sometimes the most beautiful confirmation that someone is meant for you comes not in the butterflies or the sparks, but in the deep sense of peace they bring into your life. A peace that silences the noise in your mind, a calm that quiets the storms inside your heart. When the right person walks into your life, your soul doesn't panic, it breathes, it exhales. And for the first time in a long time, you feel safe just being yourself. In today's world, we've been conditioned to think love has to feel like chaos, that it should come with drama, confusion, and emotional roller coasters. We associate intensity with passion, and we've convinced ourselves that if love doesn't make our heart race with anxiety, then it must not be real. But the truth is, real love doesn't confuse you, it clarifies you. It doesn't leave you second-guessing your worth. It reminds you of it. Let me tell you about Ava. She had a long history of dating people who kept her guessing. She was always overthinking, wondering if she said too much, if she was being too emotional, if she was texting too quickly or too slowly. Her past relationships were full of miscommunication, inconsistency, and emotional highs followed by crushing lows. She used to think that was normal, that love was supposed to be a constant guessing game. But then she met Daniel. Daniel wasn't flashy. He wasn't the bad boy type she was used to. He didn't play games, but what he did bring into her life was peace. With him, she didn't have to perform. She didn't have to pretend to be less sensitive or more agreeable. She could be exactly who she was, quirks, flaws, emotions, and all, and he embraced every part of her. For the first time in years, she wasn't overthinking every word. She was just being. And one night, Ava realized something powerful. She said, I used to think butterflies meant love, but now I see it's the peace I feel with him that tells me this is real. That kind of peace isn't boring. It's transformative. It's the kind of energy that allows you to finally rest in your relationships, not wrestle with them. It doesn't mean there won't be challenges or disagreements, but even in conflict, you feel safe, you feel heard, you feel like you're still on the same team. Think about it. When you're around the wrong person, you can feel it in your body. Your chest tightens, your stomach churns. You're constantly waiting for the next argument, the next letdown, the next wave of disappointment. You feel like you're walking on eggshells, trying not to trigger something. But with the right person, your body relaxes, your mind quiets, you stop feeling like you have to prove yourself. Because love isn't something you earn, it's something you experience in the presence of peace. It's like the way the ocean looks after a storm. When the winds die down and the waves settle, there's this stillness, this mirror-like calm that reflects the sky. That's the kind of serenity the right person brings to your soul. Not chaos, not confusion, clarity. And you start to see yourself differently too. You begin to trust your instincts again. You stop second-guessing every decision. You become more grounded, more focused, more you. That's what peace does. It brings you back home to yourself. There was a man named Elijah who once said, I knew she was the one, not because she completed me, but because she never made me feel like I had to compete for her love, her time, or her attention. With her, everything felt aligned, peaceful, intentional. I wasn't addicted to her. I was anchored by her. That word anchored is what real love feels like, a steady presence that holds you in place when life gets rough, someone who reminds you that you're not alone, someone who makes hard things feel a little lighter and good things feel even more meaningful, that peace doesn't always come wrapped in fireworks. Sometimes it shows up in small moments, the way they listen without interrupting, the way they support your dreams without envy, the way they make you laugh after a long day. It's in how they don't just give you attention, but give you security. The kind of security that says, you can let go now, you're safe with me. And when you find that kind of connection, you realize something. Love isn't about losing your mind over someone. It's about finding your peace with them. Love that brings peace is the kind that lasts, the kind that doesn't just light a fire in your soul, but builds a home for your spirit to rest. So if you're with someone who brings you calm instead of chaos, who makes your soul feel full instead of frantic, don't take that for granted. That's a divine sign. That's alignment. That's the kind of love that doesn't just excite your heart, it heals it. Because real love doesn't make you feel like you're chasing something. It makes you feel like you've arrived. Like you're no longer at war with yourself. Like your soul finally has a place to land. And that kind of peace, that's the loudest, clearest sign of all. One of the most profound signs that someone is meant for you is how they encourage your growth. Not by pushing you, but by believing in you when you can't quite see it in yourself. The right person doesn't just love you as you are. They challenge you to become more, not because they think you need to change, but because they believe in your potential. They don't just see you for who you are today, they see the person you could become, and they're there cheering you on every step of the way. Take, for example, someone like Jenna. She had always been a dreamer. She had ideas, passions, and ambitions. But there was always that voice in the back of her head telling her she wasn't capable or that she wasn't enough. She'd start a project, get excited, and then somewhere along the way, doubt would set in. She'd question her abilities, think she was too young, or that she didn't have the experience to make her dreams a reality. But when she met Luke, everything started to change. Luke didn't come into her life with grand gestures or overwhelming promises. He came with quiet faith. He listened when she talked about her hopes and dreams. He didn't dismiss them or tell her they were too big. Instead, he said, I believe in you. I believe in your vision. You're capable of this, and I'm here to support you in any way I can. At first, Jenna was skeptical. She thought, how can he believe in me when I'm not even sure I believe in myself? But over time, Luke's unwavering belief in her started to change how she saw herself. She started taking risks she would have once avoided. She started stepping outside of her comfort zone, pushing herself to do things she never thought possible. And the amazing part was, he didn't just tell her she was capable. He showed up. He encouraged her when she felt like giving up. When she doubted herself, he reminded her of how far she had already come. He didn't try to fix her or push her to meet some expectation. He simply walked alongside her, offering his confidence in her when she couldn't see it. And because of that, Jenna began to grow, not because she had to, but because she felt safe enough to believe in her own potential. Sometimes we need someone who sees beyond our self-doubt, someone who doesn't just love us for who we are, but who helps us see the greatness within ourselves. The right person will never make you feel like you have to hide your ambitions or dim your light to make them feel comfortable. Instead, they'll encourage you to shine brighter, to reach higher, and to be more than you ever thought you could be. That's what real love does. It pushes you forward even when you feel like standing still. It says, you've got this. You're not alone in this journey. It makes you believe that your dreams aren't just dreams. They're your destiny, and you have the power to make them come true. Think about it. When you're with the right person, you're not in a relationship that holds you back, but one that propels you forward. You start to feel like anything is possible. You start seeing your life in a new way, where every challenge is an opportunity to grow. Every setback isn't the end. It's simply the next step towards something bigger. You begin to think, if they believe in me, maybe I can believe in myself too. There's a man named Jason who came from a family where failure was often met with shame. He was always expected to follow the traditional path, go to school, get a steady job, and avoid taking any risk. For years, he suppressed his true passions because he thought they were impractical. He convinced himself that he wasn't cut out for anything other than what was expected of him. But then he met Sarah. Sarah didn't just accept him. She saw the fire in his eyes that he'd long buried. She listened when he talked about his dreams of becoming an artist, of starting his own business. Instead of dismissing them, she said, I believe you can do this. You've got what it takes. Jason admitted at first, I didn't know how to process it. I thought, who am I to dream big? But Sarah kept encouraging me. She kept showing up, and every day I felt a little braver, a little more willing to take the leap. Eventually, I did, and it changed everything. Now, Jason is thriving in a business he built from the ground up, and he credits a lot of his success to Sarah's unshakable faith in him. She didn't push him to change. She didn't pressure him to meet any timeline. She simply believed in him when he couldn't see it for himself. That's what happens when you're with the right person. They don't make you feel like you need to be someone else. They make you feel like you can be your truest self. They help you believe that you can achieve the things that once seemed impossible. If someone encourages you to grow, not just in your career, but in your heart, your spirit, and your character, then you're in the presence of something special. It's a sign that your souls are aligned. It's not about competition, not about trying to outdo one another. It's about elevating each other to be the best versions of yourself. When you find someone who does this for you, who challenges you to reach your full potential and believes in you every step of the way, you'll know that this is the kind of love that lasts. Because the right person doesn't just make you feel good, they make you better. They see the best in you even when you can't see it in yourself. And that is the kind of relationship that transforms both of you, not just today, but for a lifetime.